We're going to play the
Here we
intro.
go. From a resource perspective here in this team, engineers, cars, equipment. From a driver's perspective, you want to immerse yourself in that environment. There's no program like it in Indy Next. An environment like this, it's to win and get results, so that's what we're going for. It's huge to be here in North America representing the island of Ireland. You know, not many people actually branch out of Ireland when you look at motorsport on a global scale. I'm James Rowe, Indy Next driver for Andretti Autosport.
So that's the official announcement video there, James, that we've just rolled for our audience. You're welcome to studio. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me.
When does this all start? When do you actually start driving then?
First race is the first weekend of March in St. Petersburg, Florida.
Okay.
But we have 2 test days between now and then, one at the end of January in Miami and another one at the end of February. And we've been rolling probably for the last 3 or 4 months, putting everything together, and we had some tests prior to Christmas and a lot of work behind the scenes.
How did they go, the test before Christmas? What kind of state is it in at the moment?
Good, yeah. It's looking really good, actually. Part of that program was the evaluation test for this deal. So that's the way it came about, is the team bring you out and they evaluate you for 2 days. And
So no pressure?
No, no pressure whatsoever. They turn the dial up and see what you can do in their machinery, see how you get along with the engineers, the crews, the mechanics, what your dialogue's like, you know, what your feedback's like, how you advance the team as a whole. They're looking for the right candidate, and obviously with a team such as Andretti, you know, their doors being bat down with drivers every day of the week. So even just to, be honest, get that evaluation test was big. And then thankfully it went well, and JF Torman, the president of Andretti Autosport, called and offered a contract late October, and here we are now.
How many of you are on that Andretti team for the Indy Next series?
So I have 3 teammates, and it's a 4-car team. But the way it's structured when a team of such scale is that it's essentially 4 1-car teams within. So every car has their own engineer, their own crew chief, their own mechanics. Everything runs, let's say, individually while it's at the racetrack, and away from the track, then obviously it's all together as a group. Myself and the teammates work together, and the other engineers. But when we're on track,
it's a unit.
It's a unit.
Your unit.
Yeah, exactly.
And how many cars are on the grid then?
So there'll be 20 cars on the grid, based out of 4 or 5 teams, and it's to be honest with you, champions from all over the world. Japanese F3 champions, British F3 champions, European F3 guys, Indy Pro 2000 champions, winners from all around the world, W Series champions, all coming together. So it's the last step before the pinnacle of US motorsports, so naturally there's a lot of good stuff there.
So we're seeing some of the B-roll here that we have. These are the cars? These are the next cars, yeah? What kind of speeds are these getting up to?
Depending on the track, averaging anywhere from 170 to 220 miles an hour, so I don't know, about 300 and something kilometers an hour, and yeah.
Sorry, can we go back to the start of that? Look how close those cars are coming to the wall as well. Like this, when people say it's a sport,
that's on purpose.
Yeah, of course, but it's a sport of millimeters, and that's the...
Well, and that's what it's about, you know. Whoever... The running joke is it's the thinnest line between I've got and it's got me. So whoever can run that line for as long as they can, like going on a tightrope, is the guy that's ultimately going to be quickest. So that was a street course that was played there. So concrete walls all around you. That was actually St. Pete, where our season opener is, and we'll go there, and you basically, the closer you are to the walls, the faster you go.
It's funny, like I a couple of years ago got to visit the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and see the gasoline alley and the order bricks and all the rest, and you see when you're in the museum and you're seeing all the old cars and the trophies, the Andretti name is literally everywhere. Yeah. So like maybe people who are unfamiliar with Mario Andretti and even Michael, just how big is the Andretti name in the States, in North America?
It's huge. I mean, the fact and the demographic behind it is that the Andretti name is known by 75% of US households. So you imagine the North American population, 75% of those households resonating with the name is absolutely huge. And ultimately, you know, Mario and Michael Andretti are huge names. And Mario, of course, being one of the all-time greats in this industry, in motorsport, Formula 1, IndyCar, sports cars. Michael being involved in Formula 1 as a driver. And a number of IndyCar wins and pole positions, championships. They're a powerhouse in global motorsport, actually, not just US motorsport, and that's ultimately why this is such a a huge moment for my career is that you align yourself with both Michael and Mario and their outfit and where they're going. It's pretty exciting.
There was big news yesterday as well, aside from your own announcement, that Andretti have joined forces with General Motors for a bid for Formula One with Cadillac.
Correct, yeah.
2026. So is this something you're keeping an eye on? Like, do your ultimate ambitions lie in Indy, or do they lie in Formula One, or are you kind of just taking it year by year?
Well, my goal and dream, so to speak, is to get to the Indy 500, be the first Irishman there since the 1980s, and ultimately want to win it. So that's what I'm focused on right now, and being part of the Andretti Indy Next program, a level below their IndyCar program, surrounded by all the IndyCar drivers and crew chiefs and stuff on an everyday basis in the workshop is huge for that. So that's where I'm going right now, and that's what I'm focusing on, and that's the focus. But having said that, naturally, again, the team's such scale, they're involved in Indy Next, IndyCar, Formula E, Extreme E, V8 supercars in Australia, Le Mans, with a partnership with a sports car team, of course, in the middle of the F1 bid right now. Basically, Michael's goal and vision is to be a powerhouse within global motorsport, and he wants to be involved in absolutely every top level championship and winning it. And there's more announcements to come down the line, and he's just a very, very determined, hungry individual who's going to make it happen. So yes, to be part of that is huge, and let's just see what happens. I think right now just focus on my job, what they sign me up for, and see where the rest takes us.
It's funny when you talked about your trial not being just to see if you can drive the car the fastest, but also to give them the feedback to help the team grow. So that's something you need to work on and need to fully understand. So is your own background engineering, or how do you become proficient at explaining that something is not aligned properly, or if we tweak this?
I just grew up, family business in Naas, County Kildare is a car garage, so grew up around it since a very young age, being around cars and mechanics, so to speak. And my uncle Michael Rowe had a professional career back in the 80s and 90s in Japanese sports cars and Le Mans and stuff. So naturally, growing up through his professional career, I got to pick up on bits, and I suppose when you combine the two together, you naturally just pick up a little understanding of vehicle dynamics, and it's something that comes quite easy. And
then to be able to explain it to somebody is the other aspect of that.
Yeah,
right?
it's just it's hard to even verbalize. It's a feel, and you know what end of the car needs what, and it's purely based off experience, and we need less front spring or more rear spring, or we need more downforce, or whatever that may be. Is that it's built over time and knowledge. Like anything, you learn the principles, and then you got to feel it and experience it to give that accurate feedback. But it's ultimately a feel thing. Is you got to feel at what end of the car needs what.
Speaking of feeling, right? So when you're doing the tests, what are you feeling? Like, because there's a lot on the line.
Yeah. At that test, I just focused on me and just driving and prepared as best as I could for the test. And you got to have self-belief in this sport. So focused on, as I said, on me and just doing the job, and hopefully that was enough, in which it was. So that's ultimately all you can do in sport. You control the controllables and do what you got.
So where did you learn that stuff? Is the psychology of the sport, is that something you read about? You speak to other former drivers? Is it just people you trust, or is that innate? No, there's a certain aspect that's innate, but I think to get the last piece of the puzzle, so to speak, you got to tap into what's around you. So yeah, I've been fortunate to have some guys in my corner who've been very supportive in that area, one of which is Gary Keegan. He works with the Irish rugby team and does a lot there. Actually going to have a coffee with him after this. So Gary, paints a good picture there, and have been fortunate to have that. But then also, as I said, just going back to you either believe in yourself or you don't, and trusting that you're given these opportunities for a certain reason. You're in this position for a reason, and if you're working hard enough and you're doing the right things, just trust that it's going to happen. Yeah, Gary Keegan's a very impressive character. I've never come away from meeting him without thinking, my life is amazing, I'm going to be great. It's like, it's good to have somebody like that in your corner. No, he's good. He's just very genuine, says it as it is, and that's my personality, that I'm just very direct and no fluff and things, and that's what he's like. That was an important thing. From speaking to you before, James, I remember you talking about how important other sports were, even in your upbringing, whether it was water sport or skiing or rugby or boxing.
I know you follow the Green Bay Packers as well in the NFL.
Yeah.
So you seem like someone who's tapped into a little bit of everything and taken tidbits from all kinds of sports.
Well, it's funny because I didn't start motorsport until I was 15 years of age, which is very, very late. Most IndyCar or Formula 1 drivers are go-karting since they're 4 or 5 years of age. So naturally, they're a decade ahead of you on the experience standpoint. So, when we're in the Andretti shop and you're hanging around the likes of Roman and Grosjean and Colton Herta and, even my teammates, McElroy and Foster and Chadwick, all these guys, they were driving since 2004. I started in 2014. So that upbringing, I just did the usual sports that every Irish kid does. Rugby, golf, football, hurling, whatever it may be, for various different circumstances. And that ultimately boiled down to the fact that the commercial aspect of the sport, it's a sport like no other. You don't buy a pair of boots and go to the pitch. You got to buy cars, haulers, engines, mechanics, crews, tires, it goes on and on. So to get in is quite tough, and it took me till 15 years of age. But now I am thankful that I had that upbringing, and as you said, it paints a good picture of what other things are about. And honestly, it gives you a different perspective on certain scenarios, because if you come up through a tunnel for a decade from 4 or 5 years of age, you kind of get the blinkers on you, and you can't see much. So when you see other aspects in other sports, you can look at things from certain scenarios, and ultimately it helps you.
The emotional intelligence of dealing with your team, like of talking to a mechanic who might have something else going on in their life that isn't just this thing this week, and you need to be slightly aware of that while at the same time focusing on the outcome.
Absolutely. That's a big part, and it's huge in our industry, because to win, so many things have to come together. So if I'm a rugby player if I'm a golfer or a tennis player, I just focus on myself. I know once I'm under control, I'm good. But in our industry, you got the variables of the engineer, the driver, the crew chief, all the mechanics, the guy who built the gearbox, the guy who built the engine, the tire guy. Everyone has to be on their game to perform. And if one of us doesn't perform, we're not going to win. And ultimately, it's from a Thursday through to a Sunday, of a race, there's 200 small decisions made from each of those individuals. So naturally, if my engineer's having a bad weekend and or a bad time at home, and he comes to the track and that comes to the track, his head's going to be down. He's not going to be thinking as sharp. If the tire guy is having a rough time, if the crew chief is. So it's a team effort, and that's what team sports is. And yeah, you're right. You got to understand who you're dealing with and how to get the most out of them. I think that's what a lot of the greats do, and especially on the team ownership side, it's one of Michael's biggest traits is getting the most out of his guys.
When you are getting signed for a team like Andretti, is it different from a smaller team? Is there less pressure on you to bring a massive amount of sponsorship and finance with you because they're already so well established?
So it's a combination of the two. Naturally, it depends on which way you look at it. It swings and roundabouts. So being with a team of such scale, as I said, known by 75% of US households, that creates a lot of excitement and opportunity for the partners and sponsors, so they want to be part of that. But having said that, the team is extremely well established, yes, and they have a lot of commercial background and a full in-house commercial department, as any big sports team does. So it's a combination of the both. There's no direct answer to it. But one thing for sure that has been evident is the return on investment to commercial partners has grown astronomically overnight, based off the fact that we're now representing the Andretti Autosport brand, because as you can imagine...
So these are your commercial partners we're talking about.
Correct,
This is the other aspect of this that I'm not sure everybody fully understands. Mm-hmm. I'd say most people think you're a driver, but actually you're a businessman.
Yeah.
Your job is to generate enough revenue while at the same time being faster than everybody else. So you've this split personality when it comes to managing your career.
Yeah, no, you're dead right. I mean, 3 weeks before Christmas, for instance, I was on the road straight for 3 weeks throughout North America, Indy, Florida, California, Texas, New York, all these states, with meetings with senior level executives in relation to what we do. But as I said, it's all been very successful, but I'm very fortunate to have very good partners around me, Top Compositioning Group being one of them, and they've been with me since 2019. And ultimately, what's really fortunate here is the fact that the demographic, fan base and return on investment that's on hand is, seeable. So any of these commercial partners that come on board, it's not, cap in hand looking for support. It's a full commercial proposition that grows their business. And
what is that proposition? So when you were at those meetings, what are you saying? What's your job there?
Well, ultimately, every partner is going to be different, right? So it depends on understanding what your needs and wants are first and foremost, and where you're trying to take your business, and what your goals and objectives are within your marketing department or your business division. But for us, some partners are all about corporate entertainment and corporate hospitality, others are about brand growth, others are about B2B deals, so introducing business to businesses, in the sense that the beauty of our industry in North America is it's sponsored by all the major corporations in North America: Verizon, Hitachi, PNC Bank, US Bank, Caterpillar. It goes on and on and on. There's huge brands involved. So when other brands come in, they get to engage and interact with senior level executives who are all at the racetrack in relation to it. So now all of a sudden you're at the racetrack. You could bump into the CEO of Budweiser, and
so part of it's matchmaking.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah,
right.
It's hard to to explain it in one little short conversation, but ultimately, as I said, it boils back to the fan base, the demographics, the viewing figures that the sports gets. Like IndyCar right now in North America has higher viewing figures than men's golf and UFC. So if you think of that as a whole, it's growing faster than the big four sports on the viewing side. So you're a corporation, and you want to align with an athlete, and align yourself with a brand that's known by 75% of US households. Very quickly, it's justifiable, just purely based off numbers.
Does being Irish, like that strikes me as something that's remarkable. You're going to have a lot of eyes on you, I suppose, with the Andretti name, the link there, and I guess it's about that. It's about increasing profile. Does having the Irishness help over there? Is it almost a unique selling point in some ways?
I mean, yes, it is. It helps. I mean, there's certain scenarios that it helps in. Obviously, if you're speaking to a guy who has a second name called Murphy, he's interested that you're Irish, and there seems to be a lot of them over there. But there's days that it helps, and there's days where you wouldn't mention it whatsoever. It certainly doesn't hurt. I'm very proud to be Irish, very proud to be an Irish guy competing in North America, the only Irish athlete in North America in this discipline. And as I said, the goal being the first Irish man to get to the Indy 500, and since 1980, but my goal is to be an Irish athlete in the biggest one-day sporting event in the world. So our nation is huge for producing athletes. All the top athletes. Whether it's golf, whether it's boxing, whether it's horse riding, whatever that may be. There's huge talent in this country. Rugby players, everything. But to go and be an Irish guy in the biggest one-day sporting event in the world is the goal, and that's something that, of course, is unique.
You mentioned the name Romain Grosjean there as someone who you'll be mingling with in the paddock. Familiar to any fans of Formula One Drive to Survive as the Haas driver who crashed into the barrier in Bahrain at 192 kilometres per hour. Fireball, somehow survived. 67 Gs, I think it was, on impact. Do those conversations come up in paddock when you're chatting to the likes of Romain about his experiences?
Yeah, well, I think. Yeah, he survived death that day. Like, it's unbelievably, purged through a metal barrier with a car engulfed in flames and somehow got out of it. So when you're speaking to him, you can't help but see the scars on his hand. All the aftermath of being in a fireball. He basically ran through a fire. He came out in a fireball. So look, as a driver, you don't really bring it up on the day of the event, so to speak. I mean, the reality is our sport is very, very dangerous. You're driving speeds excessive of 300 kilometers an hour, inches away from one another. So at that point, anything can happen at any moment, and it's faster than what the human body can deal with from a reaction standpoint. So yeah, he talks about it openly, and he honestly said it changed his way of looking at life and sport, because he got a second chance that day. He should be gone. Everyone was sure that he was gone. So now he's in North America competing in IndyCar and having a very good run at it. And he's a good guy.
It's unbelievable.
The whole story is unbelievable, because you've got to be continuously getting better as a driver, while at the same time keeping part of your brain going, okay, I've got to keep everybody here happy. It's a very difficult thing to be elite and high performance while also running the business.
Yeah, it's
obviously very enjoyable as well, because you're essentially involved in everything. You get to decide. Well, you don't get to decide, but the success or failure of it ultimately comes down to you in a way.
Yeah, well, I actually like that side of the business to some degree. Obviously, I'm here to win races and drive a car, and that's ultimately why I'm here. But the other side comes somewhat naturally. But I actually find a lot of motivation and, you know, hunger from the success stories of Irish businessmen, so the likes of JP McManus and guys like that here in Ireland. You know, those self-made guys, that hunger, get up and go, make it happen sort of attitude is what spurs me on in that division, because you can make anything you want happen if you're willing to work hard enough. But again, I'm fortunate to have a team around me. Just in the last number of weeks, got 2 people working behind me now who are working on the brand side and the content side, and we're very senior people in big North American agencies. So yes, I'm the front of it and doing the talking, so to speak, but I'm very lucky to have a team behind me who are helping me implement that and ensure that the partners are getting return on investment.
How many races are there?
11 events and 15 races this year in North America. We'll start in St. Petersburg in Florida, work our way all up through the East Coast and the Midwest, and ultimately out west to finish in Laguna Seca in California.
It's super exciting, James. We wish you the very best of luck with it. Thanks a million for joining us.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.